Hi, I'm Cindy Elaine Butler, and I'm the founder of Accessible Careers, where we provide training and consulting on how to make sure that employers are more accessible and inclusive to people with disabilities and that are also neurodivergent, as well as other areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. Today, I'll be talking about 5 best practices that a business can put in place to make sure that they are more welcoming and inclusive to people who are neurodivergent. Number 1, have neurodiversity awareness training. This is important as it allows people in the company, from HR, managers, just co-workers, to understand what neurodiversity is. So what does it look like in the workplace, how they can best support, and start knowing more about it. Number 2, providing reasonable accommodation. So what is reasonable accommodation? These can include things such as taking breaks, modifying job tasks, and much, much more. It's important to provide these reasonable accommodations. So for example, someone that has ADHD or someone that, has issues with procrastination or, getting distracted, having that, for example, having a 5 to 10 minute break carved out at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, whichever they prefer, allows them to, step away from the work for a little bit, go stretch their legs as needed, get some other external stimuli before getting back to the work. And so they don't get distracted and trying to procrastinate. Number 3, having various formats of communication. These include email, Slack, face-to-face meetings, virtual meetings, and it's important to understand how the employee best communicates and best processes information. So by this, example, someone that needs written communication, when you verbally communicate them instructions, they may not process it all the way, and they might, be more prone to making mistakes. However, if they have the written communication, they can refer back to it later, and also by just having it written, they can better process the information. Number 4, having accessible and inclusive hiring practices and processes. These include ensuring, that you can accommodate and having an accommodation statement on your job description. And then after that, okay, how would you actually accommodate them? By providing questions ahead of time. And so by this, a lot of people in HR, get quite annoyed by this, but to better reflect the candidate's abilities and skills by providing the questions ahead of time, they better get to process the questions, better understand the questions, and bring the answer they best want to bring to the interview and show and demonstrate that they're the best candidate for the job. Other accommodations include having remote interviews so people can do it from the comfort of their own home and feel more comfortable and relax and don't have to feel the pressure of rushing to get to an interview. And also having closed captions enabled during interviews in these remote settings. And so by this, having closed captions or having the transcript enabled allows for people to better process by seeing the written question. And number 5, having regular check-ins with your employees. This could be daily, weekly, or monthly, because sometimes we have daily targets, sometimes we have weekly targets, and sometimes we have monthly targets. So, working with your employee to understand, do they need check-ins at the end of the day to see, if they had any issues? Do they need weekly check-ins? Okay, how are your weekly tasks? Do you have any, overarching issues during this weekend with your weekly tasks, or monthly? Do you have any issues with your monthly tasks? Was when anything that for next month, that you do not want to work on? Do you need to be more modified? Do you need more support with something? Do you understand everything you have to do? And these are questions you're supposed to ask in these check-ins, but working with the employee to understand when are the best times to do weekly, to do these regular check-ins. Is it weekly? Is it daily? Is it monthly? Because you could think, oh, they need a monthly check-in, just based on, but sometimes they need a weekly check-in instead because they're making so many mistakes in the month because they don't have the weekly check-in, or they're making those mistakes in the weekly because you don't have the daily. And to really get down to basics and understanding what they need, how they can best be supported by you. And so those are 5 best practices the business can make to make sure the workplace is more welcoming and inclusive to people without a neurodivergent.